The trial begins. The hall was massive, bright, and cold. It was not made for comfort. It was made to remind everyone who had power and who didn't. Giant alien statues looked down from the walls. 100 different alien species sat in the high seats watching from above. In the center of the floor stood a human. His hands were in metal cuffs. His face was bruised. His clothes were torn. But his eyes were calm. His name was Rain. "Bring the accuser forward," the voice of the Grand Judge echoed. It was deep and sharp like metal scraping stone. From the crowd, a tall alien woman stepped forward. She wore black armor. Her skin was silver blue, and her eyes glowed yellow. She moved with pride, like a warrior used to winning. Her name was Zara, commander of the Drakari Guard. She walked around Rain slowly like a lion circling a wounded deer. "This thing," she said, pointing at him, "calls itself a human. A creature from a backward planet. No ships. No real weapons. No power." Laughter echoed through the hall. Rain stood still. "He came to our space," Zara said loudly. "He entered a sacred zone. He touched an artifact that does not belong to him." More laughter. Some aliens even hissed. "Why?" she asked. "Why would a weak species dare such a thing?" "Simple. Because they do not know their place." Zara turned and looked up at the council. "I request trial by combat," she said. "Let this human entertain us before he dies." The Grand Judge nodded once. "Approved." Guard stepped forward and removed Rain's cuffs. He rubbed his wrist slowly. Zara looked at him and smirked. "Any last words, little human?" Rain looked up. For the first time, he spoke. "Yes," he said softly. "You should not have done that." Zara frowned. "Done what?" Rain didn't answer. He just smiled. The floor beneath them began to shift. The tiles moved and opened, revealing a deep, round arena below. Lights came on. The crowd roared. Rain was pushed forward. Inside the arena, 5 alien fighters waited, all bigger than Rain. One had 4 arms. One had scales. One was a creature made of smoke. "Begin!" the judge shouted. The first alien ran forward. Rain dodged. Fast. The second came from the side. Rain fell to the ground, rolled, and kicked the alien's leg. It stumbled. The crowd laughed louder. But something was changing. Rain's eyes began to glow faint blue. The smoke creature attacked. Rain stood still, eyes closed. When the smoke touched him, it burned. The creature screamed and vanished. The arena became quiet for a second. Zara stood above, watching closely. "That's not possible," she whispered. Rain looked up at her. He was breathing hard now. One arm was bleeding, but he smiled again. The 4-armed alien jumped at him. Rain raised his hand. A shockwave exploded from his palm. The alien flew across the arena and hit the wall. It didn't get up. Gasps filled the hall. "What is that energy?" someone asked. "He's not normal," another said. Zara clenched her fists. He was never supposed to survive this. Rain stood alone in the arena now. Lights flickered above him. The final alien charged. Rain didn't move. The alien swung its sharp claws. But something happened. Time seemed to slow. Rain moved smoothly, almost like he had seen the move before. He grabbed the alien's arm, turned, and threw it over his shoulder. It landed hard and didn't move again. Silence. Rain looked up at the judge. "Are we done?" he asked. The judge didn't answer. Zara jumped down into the arena. Her boots hit the ground with a loud thud. "You cheated," she said. Rain tilted his head. "No. You underestimated." She raised her hand to strike him, but then paused. His eyes were glowing brighter now. His skin pulsed with a strange light. She took a step back without meaning to. "What are you?" she whispered. Rain stepped closer. "Something your kind should have left alone." Zara's face showed something new. Fear. The judge stood. "This trial is not over." Rain looked at him. "You're right," he said. It's just beginning. The lights in the arena flickered again. Deep below the ground, something hummed. And above, far in the dark sky, a strange signal was sent out, activating something old, something forgotten. The crowd had come to watch a weak human die, but now they were watching the rise of something far more dangerous. Rain's secret passed. The lights in the arena were still flickering when they dragged Rain back to his cell. 4 armed guards pushed him down a long, dark corridor. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. But his eyes, still glowing faint blue, watched everything. Inside the cell, the walls were cold and smooth, made of metal from a dead planet. Even thoughts echoed here. The door shut behind him. Rain sat down. He closed his eyes, and the past returned. 10 years ago, Earth, Antarctica. The wind howled across the frozen wasteland. White snow blew like ash over the black rocks. 5 figures in thick coats moved toward a strange structure half buried in ice. It wasn't man-made. It wasn't even from Earth. Dr. Rain Alden walked at the front. Young, sharp, and brilliant. He had led research on alien signals for years. But this was different. "Sir," one of the team called. "We found the door." A smooth circle of black metal, covered in glowing runes, stood tall before them. It had no lock, no handle. But it called to Rain, like a whisper in his mind. "Don't touch it," one scientist warned. But Rain stepped forward. His fingers brushed the metal, and the world vanished. Somewhere in the void, he floated in darkness. Stars twisted. Voices spoke in languages he had never heard but somehow understood. Then, pain. Then silence. And finally, light. Back in the present, Rain opened his eyes. The same voice from the void whispered again. "You were chosen." Touched his chest. Under his skin, under his bones, something pulsed. Not a machine. Not a weapon. A living energy. He didn't steal the artifact in the trial. It chose him, and the council was terrified of that. Outside the cell, Zara stood watching. The monitor. She replayed the fight again and again. Frame by frame, Rain had moved faster than any human should. No, faster than any Drakari soldier could. And that energy, raw, ancient, and uncontrolled, had responded to him like he was its master. "What? Are you hiding?" she muttered. A scientist approached. "Commander," he said nervously, "we scanned the human." "And?" Zara asked without looking. "He's changing." Zara turned. "Explain." The scientist held up a tablet. "His DNA is no longer fully human. There's something else in him now. Something we can't identify." Zara's eyes narrowed. Did the artifact do this to him? Maybe. Or maybe. He unlocked something that was always inside. Meanwhile, inside the prison cell, Rain stood and walked to the wall. He placed his hand against it. He didn't push. He just focused. A soft, blue circle appeared around his fingers. The metal vibrated. He smiled. They thought they could hold him here, but this wasn't a cage. This was a waiting room. Suddenly, the wall flashed. A hidden panel slid open. A small sphere floated out. Silver, smooth and humming. Rain caught it. The artifact had found him again. It whispered, "You are not alone." And with that, images rushed into his mind. Visions of others like him, across different planets, all waking up, all evolving. He was the first, but not the last. At the High Council Tower, alien leaders gathered around a giant table. They spoke in low voices, urgent and angry. "We must destroy him," one said. "We tried," another growled. "You saw what happened in the arena. He's a threat to galactic law." "He's a threat to our power," someone else corrected. Then, the screen lit up. An old figure appeared. Skin like cracked stone, eyes blind and glowing. The ancient. They all stood in silence. "You fools," the ancient said. "You have awakened the chosen blood. We didn't mean to. You mocked him. You hurt him, and now the seed has bloomed." The room went quiet. What do we do? A voice asked. The ancient's face turned grim. You pray he shows mercy, because what comes next cannot be stopped. Back in the cell, Zara entered the room alone. Rain stood, calm. We need to talk, she said. Now you want to talk? He asked. What are you? She whispered. Rain walked closer. He looked into her eyes. I don't know, he said honestly. But I think I was never just human. What do you want? Rain paused. To understand, to survive, to protect. Protect what? My people. And maybe yours too, if you let me. Zara frowned. I mocked you, I called you nothing. Rain nodded. You were wrong. She looked away, ashamed. Then the alarms rang. Emergency breach. Multiple prisons unlocked. System failure. Zara's comm crackled. Commander! Something's happening across all sectors. Rain stepped past her. It's starting. What is? He looked at her. Awakening. Far away on a mining colonia, child fell to the ground shaking. His skin glowed faint blue. His mother screamed. On a desert moon, a soldier's weapon exploded in his hands, but he was unharmed. The fire danced around him. He smiled. In the heart of the galaxy, a signal played, a song from Earth. A simple radio wave. Reaching far and wide, a message not from the stars, but going to them. The age of the human had begun. The first strike the night was quiet over Zentar 4, the prison planet orbiting 2 suns. No winds, no voices, just silence. But inside the arena, that silence was waiting to break. Today was not for a trial. Today was for a spectacle. Thousands of aliens returned to the viewing stands, eager to see the human again. But this time, the rules were different. No chains, no warnings, no mercy. Rain stood in the middle of the arena once more. But something had changed. Not just his glowing eyes, not just his steady hands, something deeper, something ancient had fully awakened inside him. He was not the same man who walked into the courtroom. Zara watched from above, silent, her arms crossed. He's not a prisoner anymore, she whispered. He's a message. Message to who? Her second-in-command asked. To all of us, she said. The gates opened. 6 alien warriors stepped forward, each from a different species, each stronger, faster, and deadlier than the last team. One was half-machine. One could disappear in shadow. Another was a mind reader, trained to destroy thoughts from within. This was not a test. This was an execution team. The crowd roared. The judge stood and shouted, You are now facing the finest champions of the Outer Rim. If you survive, human, you will be free. Rain didn't look up. He only whispered, Freedom is not given. It's taken. The battle began. The shadow warrior struck first, vanishing from sight, but Rain didn't move. His eyes closed, as if listening. Suddenly he turned and struck the air behind him. A loud crack echoed. The invisible fighter slammed into the wall, gasping for breath. Gasps and murmurs filled the arena. Next came the machine soldier, charging like a tank. Rain ducked under the first blow, then jumped, flipping over the enemy's shoulders. His hand touched the machine's back, and a blue spark erupted. The machine froze, short-circuited. How did he do that? One alien asked. He's not using weapons. He is the weapon, another replied. But then, the mind reader stepped in. She smiled. You think you're strong, she said softly. But I see your memories. I see your pain. Rain froze. His eyes flickered. You lost people. Your team died. You couldn't save them. You failed. Enough, he shouted. A wave of force burst from his body. The mind reader was thrown across the arena like a rag doll. She hit the ground and didn't get up. The crowd fell silent. Zara stood slowly. His control is growing. The judge growled. So is his threat. The last 2 warriors rushed him at once. Blades, claws, rage. Rain dodged. He slid across the ground, kicked one in the knee, grabbed the other's arm and twisted. Bones snapped, screams echoed. He moved like someone who had trained for centuries, but he hadn't. He was learning in real time. The artifact wasn't just energy. It was memory, instinct, evolution. The fight was over in minutes. 6 champions, defeated. The arena was in shock. The crowd, once loud, was now silent. Rain stood in the center, breathing slowly, a faint blue mist rising from his skin. Then he looked up. Not at the judge, not at the crowd, but at the sky. And he smiled. Somewhere, far away, deep in space, a signal reached an old human station orbiting Mars. A broken satellite blinked to life, and the message was clear. We are not alone anymore. Back in the courtroom, the judge stood, angry and red-faced. This human is a threat to the Galactic Order. No, Zara said slowly. He's a threat to the old order. We must strike now. Destroy him before the others awaken. Zara turned. What others? The judge paused. Too late. The truth was out. This wasn't about one human. It never was. In the hidden chambers below, the arena Rain walked through the halls alone. He passed locked doors. Strange prisoners. Secrets of the Empire. But then he stopped. A wall pulsed. Blue light. Like his own. He touched it. The wall opened. Inside was a chamber, glowing symbols, machines older than any species alive. And at the center, a stasis pod, and inside the pod, a human woman, alive, floating, glowing. He whispered, "No way." Flashes hit his mind, her face, her voice. She was on his research team. She touched the artifact too. But the Empire had hidden her. They feared what two could become. She's waking up, the voice in his mind said. Soon, you won't be alone. Above ground, Zara looked down at the arena, at the destruction, and the silence. This isn't just a fight, she whispered. It's a war coming. And for the first time in years, her voice shook. The human had struck first, but the galaxy hadn't seen anything yet. The rising fear deep in space, a storm moved through the void. Not wind, not water, but something colder, older, invisible. It passed through moons, skipped over suns, and whispered across galaxies. Everywhere it went. Machines glitched. Animals grew restless. Minds felt unease. The storm had no name, but the Empire knew its cause. A human had awakened. On Zentar 4, the council chamber lights flickered. 100 alien leaders sat in silence, watching the footage from the arena on loop. One by one, they saw their strongest warriors fall. The last frame froze on Rain's face, calm, glowing, unafraid. The silence broke. He is dangerous. He must be destroyed, before others follow. But one voice, older than the rest, spoke softly. You don't understand. He's not trying to start a war. Then what? The judge growled. He's trying to end one. Beneath the arena, Rain stood before the stasis pod, his hand on the glass. Inside, the woman began to stir. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing, just like his. Lena, he whispered. Her voice echoed weakly in his mind. Rain, you made it. Memories flooded back. They were both scientists. They both touched the artifact in Antarctica, but only he was taken to trial. She had been hidden, locked away, studied. Why didn't they kill you? Rain asked. Because they were afraid of what I might become. And now? Now they should be afraid of what we already are. In orbit above the planeta, massive ship appeared. Black, silent, invisible to most sensors. The Council's secret weapon, the destroyer-class vessel, Silencer 1, built for one purpose, erasing problems before they spread. On the bridge, a commander gave the order. Lock onto the prison. Fire on Rain's location. Underground, Rain looked up sharply. The artifact inside him pulsed. They're going to bomb this place. Then we have to leave. Lena said. Rain nodded. We will. He turned toward the wall, placed his palm against it. The metal bent like paper. His power wasn't just energy anymore. It was control. In the sky, missiles launched. Fire streaked across the heavens. The crowd above the arena screamed. Zara saw the red lights in the sky. No, she whispered. They're not trying to contain him. They're trying to erase him. She ran. In the tunnel's rain, grabbed Lena's hand. The missiles struck, but the explosion didn't reach them. A dome of blue energy had formed above their heads. Floating, humming, alive. Lena looked around. You didn't make that. Rain frowned. No. We did. The power had doubled. The artifact had bonded to both of them. They weren't just survivors now. They were evolution. On the council ship, alarms blared. What happened? The commander shouted. Target still alive. The tech stammered. Weapons, useless. Then the screen cracked. Rain's face appeared. He wasn't angry. He wasn't smiling. He was done hiding. Your time is over, he said simply. The galaxy doesn't belong to you anymore. And the screen went dark. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, on a slave world, a human boy broke his chains without touching them. On a mining planet, a human woman lifted a machine 10 times her size. On a warship, a human engineer began hearing the voices of stars. One by one, humans were waking up, and the universe was noticing. On Zentar 4, the ruins of the arena, Zara stepped through fire and smoke. She found Rain and Lena standing in the crater, untouched. Guards aimed their weapons. Zara raised a hand. Stand down. She walked slowly toward Rain. You saved lives, even after what we did to you. Rain nodded. I didn't come to destroy. I came to warn. Warn about what? He looked at the sky. Something worse is coming. Something bigger than the Council, older than the Empire. Lena spoke next. The artifact wasn't made by us, or by any race you know. It was left behind. By who? Zara asked. Rain answered. By the first ones, the ones who shaped the stars, and then vanished. Why? Because they knew one day something would return, something that feeds on power, on control, on fear. Zara's face went pale. And you think it's coming? Rain looked at her. No, it's already here, far across the void in a dark system where no stars shine. A shape moved. Massive, ancient, alive. It opened 1,000 eyes and began to move toward the light, toward the humans, toward the ones who were finally waking up. Back on Zentar, Zara lowered her weapon. What do you need from me? She asked. Rain's answer was quiet. Help me unite the humans, and help me prepare the galaxy. For what? Rain looked to the sky. For the war they can't win without us. Zara's challenge, the fire, had faded. Zentar 4 was quiet now, but the silence was not peace. It was tension. Thick, waiting to break. The arena was broken. The council ship had left in fear, and in the ruins stood 3 figures, Rain, Lena, and Zara once enemies, now something more dangerous. Uncertain allies, but trust doesn't rise from fire. Sometimes it must be tested in blood. The next morning, Rain stood at the edge of the old battlefield watching the stars. He could feel them, not the stars, the humans across the galaxy. Like sparks in the dark, waking up one by one. Like him, like Lena. But not all were ready. Some would burn too bright. Some would fall. He needed time, but the galaxy didn't want to give him any. Footsteps echoed behind him. Zara. She was not in her armor today. She wore a simple cloak, but she still walked like a soldier, strong, proud, dangerous. You're leaving? She asked. Soon, Rain replied without turning. You're not ready. None of us are. Zara stepped closer. Then fight me. Rain turned slowly. What? No weapons. No help. Just us.
Why? Zara's voice was sharp. Because you think you're in control, but power without limits is just chaos. If I can beat you even once, you'll know that. Rain stared at her. And if I win? Then I follow you, she said.
Fully. No more doubts, no more chains. He nodded. Then let's begin. The challenge began at dawn in the cracked ground of the old arena, with no audience, no lights, just dust and tension. Zara circled first. Her body moved like a blade. Every step practiced, precise. Rain stood still, calm. The wind moved. She struck, a blur of motion, faster than most eyes could see. Her fist aimed for his jaw. He ducked, grabbed her wrist, flipped her sideways, but she landed on her feet like a cat. She swept his legs. He hit the ground but rolled back, standing again. They fought in silence. No anger, just skill, instinct, respect. But the energy shifted as the fight grew longer. Rain's hands began to glow again. Blue sparks, humming power. Zara backed away. No powers, she warned. Rain closed his eyes, forced the light down. Sweat rolled down his face. It's not a weapon, he said. It's alive. Then control it. She rushed again, this time faster. Elbows, knees strikes aimed at his weak points. She landed a hit, his lip bled. Then another, his ribs cracked. She pinned him down, her knee on his chest. You're not a god, she whispered. You're still flesh and blood. But Rain didn't panic. He looked up, smiled. Exactly. Then his body burst with light, not to attack but to push. A soft pulse of force lifted her just enough. He slipped out, stood, offered her a hand. Zara stared, then took it. They stood side by side now, not enemies, not yet friends, but something new. Equal. Zara spoke quietly. You win. Rain shook his head. No, we both did. Later that day, a new ship landed on Zentar 4, sleek, fast, human-made, but not from Earth. Lena looked up, confused. That's not from any program I know. Rain stepped forward. That's because it's not from our time. The ramp opened, and a man stepped out. Young, tall, strange armor, but his eyes, just like Rain's. Blue fire. He bowed slightly. My name is Seren. I'm from the year 4219. I was sent back. By you. Rain blinked. Me? Serene nodded. You built the Order. You trained the Awakened. You led the first resistance against the Hunger. The Hunger? Seren's face darkened. The real enemy. Not the Empire, not the Council. The thing behind it all. The thing that eats galaxies. Zara frowned. What is it? Seren whispered. A mind that travels between stars. It feeds on fear, on control. It bends leaders, starts wars, makes people believe humans are weak, so they never notice what's waking up. Lena stepped forward. Why come now? Because it knows, Seren said. It felt your awakening. It's coming, and it's sending the first of its shadows. Above Zentar 4, in deep orbit, a tear opened in space. Not a ship, not a signal, a hole. Black mist poured out, and inside that mist, something watched. It had no face, only hunger. And it spoke one word in a dead language. Human. Back on the ground, Seren handed Rain a small device. Coordinates, safe places, awakened cells hidden across the stars. Rain looked at the map. Earth, Mars, and Europa, unknown regions. We have less than one cycle before it reaches the core systems, Seren said. Rain looked at Zara. You still want to follow me? Zara gave a dry smile. I don't follow kings, but I stand with warriors. Lena stepped beside them. So, where do we start? Rain's answer was clear. We don't run. He looked to the stars. We gather. And across the galaxy, for the first time, humans stopped hiding, and others stopped laughing. Because the first strike was only the beginning. and the fire had only just begun to burn. The Council's fear, the High Council's chamber floated above the burning clouds. A Velan 5 safe in orbit where no outsider could enter. 20 great alien leaders sat in a circle, glowing symbols under their feet, each representing a power that ruled some part of the galaxy. They were older than memory, richer than empires, and more afraid than ever before. A recording played Rain. Standing in the arena, the ground cracked around him, blue energy rising from his hands behind him. Lena beside him, Zara. And then the ship from the future. A voice played over the image. We don't run. We gather. The recording stopped. No one spoke for a moment. Then the Joric Queen slammed her clawed hand on the table. You let him live? You let two of them live? And now they're forming an army, the Malaysian war chief hissed. They are not forming an army. They are awakening a species. Even worse, growled the croon speaker. They will spread their sickness. But the oldest among them, the veiled oracle, spoke without anger. It is not a sickness, she said. It is evolution, and we are too late to stop it. The room froze. Then what do we do? A nervous voice asked. We delay it, the oracle said. We divide them. Meanwhile, far across the Galaxian, a quiet farming planet, a girl woke from a nightmare. Her hair floated above her head, her feet lifted from the ground. Fire danced around her fingers. Her father screamed and backed away. But the girl just whispered one word. Rain. On a war-ravaged moon, a human soldier stared at the stars as his ship burned. He should have died, but something pulsed in his chest. He stood glowing faintly, eyes blue. He heard a voice from inside the fire. Go to him. Back on Velan 5, the Council began their real work. Step 1. Lie. They broadcast across the galaxy. A human weapon has been activated without control. Reynalden is a threat to all species. He has taken prisoners and corrupted officers. We offer a reward for his capture, dead or alive. Bounty hunters listened. Pirates, mercenaries, assassins, but also human spies who sent warnings back to Rain. In the hidden base on Kepler's edge, Rain sat at a large round table. A hologram of the galaxy floated above them. Lena, Zara, and Serene stood close. Dozens of awakened humans surrounded them. Some looked like scientists, others like soldiers, engineers, doctors, or even ex-convicts. They all had the spark now. But they were not ready. Not yet. Serene pointed at the map. They're spreading the lie, calling you a terrorist. They want to turn the people against you. Zara leaned forward. They fear the truth, because if other races support you, their rule ends. Rain nodded. They're not wrong. Suddenly, an alarm breach detected, a voice said. Where? Lena asked. Inside the lower hangar, 2 heat signatures, cloaked. Rain stood. I'll go. Zara followed without a word. In the hangar, steam hissed from pipes, lights flickered. 2 shadows moved between the ships. Fast, silent, then, crack, one stepped on a metal plate. Rain appeared instantly, floating above them, his eyes glowing. You could have just knocked, he said. The shadows attacked, but he didn't strike back. He dodged, waited, studied. One came close enough. Rain touched his head and saw the memory. A council room, a contract. Kill the girl, the judge's voice said. Lena must not live. Rain. Drop the attacker. Fury rose inside him like a storm. Zara stepped beside him, her sword drawn. What did you see? She asked. They're not after me anymore, Rain said. They're after her. In Lena's room, she sat alone, hands trembling. Not from fear, but from power. She was changing faster than anyone. Memories that weren't hers filled her mind. Machines, languages, galaxies she had never seen, but someone else had. The first ones. And somehow, their knowledge had found a home inside her. Back in the council chamber, a new report arrived. Project Omega has failed, a spy whispered. He survived the assassins. The judge stood. Then prepare the last plan. What is it? The judge turned slowly. Earth. On the edge of known space, a giant ship uncloaked. Not council. Not empire. Hunger. Dark. Alive. Pulsing. A signal emerged. Not sound. Not light. A dream. Across the galaxy, humans began to have the same nightmare. A world burning. A voice laughing. And an army of shadows. Serene woke up screaming. "It's here," he whispered. The first wave of the hunger. Back at the base, Rain looked at his team. "We have two choices," he said. "Run and watch them hunt us one by one. Or?" Lena asked. "We take the fight to the council." Zara smiled. Finally, the humans were no longer scattered. They were no longer hiding. They were no longer weak. They were coming. He who was mocked, the council stood in silence. Their voices were gone, their threats empty. Above them, in the skies of Velen 5, thousands of ships had appeared, not the Empire's fleet, not pirates or mercenaries. Humans, some old, some new, some born on Earth. Others scattered across the stars. For the first time in history, they came together. Not in fear, but in strength. Inside the grand hall, the same room where Rain once stood in chains, now stood empty. The statues looked smaller, the walls less powerful, because something was coming. Him. Hours earlier. At Kepler's edge, the final briefing. Rain stood in front of the gathered awakened. He wore no armor, just a simple black coat, the same one from the day he was captured. Lena stood beside him, her eyes no longer afraid. Now filled with light and ancient knowledge. Zara stood at his left, sword ready, expression cold, but loyal. And behind them, hundreds of awakened humans, soldiers, engineers, farmers, artists, children, all reborn in this new age. Saren stepped forward. "Our scouts confirm, the hunger has arrived. It's growing fast. It will reach Velen 5 soon." Rain nodded. "Then we go now, not to beg, not to fight for survival, but to finish what they started." He looked at his people. They called us weak. They mocked our blood. They feared our spark. But now, they will remember who we really are. Arrival at Velen 5, the human fleet surrounded the planet. The Council activated every weapon they had, plasma cannons, orbital defense rings, starbreak missiles. But when they fired, something strange happened. Nothing hit. Lena stood on the command deck, her hands raised. The knowledge inside her left behind by the first ones was speaking to the weapons, and they listened. She whispered one word: "Sleep." And all the weapons shut down. On the surface, the Grand Judge stood watching the sky. Ships were landing, troops marching, but no one fired. No one attacked. Then, silence. And from the main ship, a ramp opened. He stepped out. Rain. No chains. No anger. Only purpose. The crowd watched. Many of them had laughed at him once. Now, they could barely breathe. Inside the council hall, Rain entered alone. His boots echoed. Every council member stood. The judge tried to speak, but his mouth was dry. You've come to destroy us?" Rain looked around. At the symbols. The throne. The pride. He shook his head. "No," he said. "I've come to end this." Flashback. Years ago, Earth, a young Rain working in the cold lab, curious about the stars, always believing humans were more than just survivors. He was mocked even back then, for dreaming too big, for thinking humanity belonged among the stars. Present Zara, and Lena entered next. The room was tense. "You used to laugh at us," Zara said, "even me." But he showed us something more. The judge stepped forward. "You have power now, yes. But what will you do with it?" Rain stepped closer. His voice was quiet, but it filled the room. "I will give the galaxy a choice. Stand with the future, or be crushed by it." Suddenly, a tremor. The walls shook. Screens flickered. Outside, the skies turned black. The hunger had arrived. A massive shape emerged from space. Not a ship, not a creature, a will. It didn't speak with words, it spoke with fear. Thousands of alien ships stopped mid-flight. Soldiers dropped their weapons, some cried, some ran. But the humans stood firm. Serene's voice cracked on the intercom. "It's here." Rain closed his eyes. Good. Battle begins in the skies. The hunger spread like shadow fire. It sent waves of terror into the minds of everyone. But the awakened were different. Their minds burned brighter. They pushed back. Zara led the air forces. Lena directed the energy shields, guiding them with thought. Saren flew straight into the storm. Rain walked into the heart of the battlefield. Everywhere he stepped, the hunger twisted. It tried to enter his mind, but something was waiting for it. A door, sealed, and then opened. Inside, Rain's mind, a voice echoed. "Old, ancient. You are not the first. You are the echo, the flame." Rain saw them, the first ones. Tall, glowing, watching. "You must choose, Rain Alden. Vengeance or balance." Rain took a deep breath. "I choose freedom." And he unleashed everything. Final momenta. Blast of blue light tore through the skies. The hunger screamed, not with sound, but with dying thought. It cracked, shattered, folded, and was gone. Aftermath. The battlefield was quiet. Lena collapsed. Zara caught her. Serene limped out of his ship, bleeding but smiling. The council stepped outside, blinking in the new light. Rain stood above them, glowing softly. He was not human anymore. Not completely. But he had never been more human than this moment. The judge knelt, Zara whispered. "They mocked you," Lena finished, "but now they bow." Rain didn't smile. He looked up at the stars and said, "We're just getting started." Epilogue. Humans didn't conquer the galaxy. They didn't become rulers. They became keepers of peace, of balance, of memory. And whenever another race began to mock them again, they remembered. The man who stood alone, who rose, who changed everything. He who was mocked